talking about the BBC. Talking about the BBC and talking about today, I wonder if any of you have seen this picture and can you guess who it is? Who's that?
Yes, it's John Bishop.
John Bishop with a stupid mask on his face, just probably wondering why he's there in the first place, probably wondering why the show's all about, probably just wondering really.
Yeah, this was something that John Bishop, the newly cast new companion on Doctor Who, so we're told, John Bishop put this out on his Instagram and Twitter a few days ago. He's enjoying the British weather there. That was before the snow came. I thought I'd be able to catch some of you out with that. Yeah. But he's made a statement. It was mostly a plug for his own podcast. Everybody's got a podcast now, you know.
Why?
Yeah, so he's plugging his own podcast. He's on location with Doctor Who at the moment, where they've all got their own custom masks there. I suspect somebody will monetize that fairly soon. You'll be able to.
Is that where our money's going? To these bloody
yeah.
Seriously.
Well, at least you can tell the ones who aren't employed by the BBC, because we've also had this week too. This was. Do you know who that is?
It's John Barrowman. Well, it actually even says that. Images credit John Barrowman. Because he's doing ITV's Dancing on Ice.
Oh,
yes.
What a surprise.
So he's back in town, as it were.
But I thought that was quite cool. He was cycling around the bay there. And I was there around a year ago because my son lives in Cardiff, and there was JB. So he took snaps of himself at various places, but of course, in incognito, nobody can. Even John Barrowman with a cap on and a mask on, you can't tell it's him. But I thought that was quite sweet. But yeah, absolutely appalling weather. I know we shouldn't complain about the cold, because when it's hot, we complain about it. It's completely true. If you're not in Great Britain, we complain. We complain whichever the weather is. I think
it's tradition. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Not only do we talk about Doctor Who as fans of Doctor Who within Doctor Who circles, we complain about the weather. We're never happy.
We've got somebody who's quick on the research here. Problem being, says the ferret record holder was Reg Mellor, even though it was only 2 ferrets. It was for 5 hours and 20 minutes. And the only
guy that hired to play the Doctor. Jesus.
The only stipulation was the trousers must have a drawstring and no underwear. Now,
What?
That is brave. Everybody's got the same sort of look on their faces as if to say, "Oh,
not a chance." Yeah. Yeah, but they got paid for this, so that's their excuse.
Charlotte says, "You try standing on a playground, gents." She's on lunch duty. Hope you're happy in the new job, Charlotte. Best of luck. Hope you're enjoying it despite the cold.
Yeah.
So, Series 24 coming out as that was the big news this week, wasn't it?
It is.
Right.
We've got that to get into. We've got other stories to get. There's also been another story that broke. It sort of broke, and then it didn't break a couple of days ago because the Sun went with an article. Now, if you remember, 2 weeks ago, the story broke that Jodie Whittaker was to depart Doctor Who, everybody. And once we'd all recovered from 72 to 96 hours in hysterics, in the floods of tears, when the dust started to fall on that, and no statement was put out by the BBC, it did start to seem that obviously there's truth in this. It's not been denied yet. In fact, the rumour is growing and growing all the time. But the Sun printed an article yesterday, on their website, claiming that was nonsense.
Yeah.
Which then, of course, got the people who are upset about Jodie's imminent departure. They were really, really happy, but that article was then taken down within an hour. So, for the people who've been in touch and asked me about that, yes, it did break, and then it was unbroken. So that's where we are with that. It's all gone very, very quiet.
Well, I'm glad if the rumor is true and that she's not leaving. I'm glad she's not leaving, because imagine them putting a really good doctor in and Chinballs was still in charge. Yeah. It'd be even worse, wouldn't it? So, I mean, if she stays, that's good. Chimballs and her, they can carry on destroying the show. You know what I mean?
The thing about the content of the article that appeared on The Sun is it was rehashed material from the last 3 years. It's all been in print.
Just change the name. Peter, but Jodie.
It was all stuff that was done from 2018 onwards in different paragraphs. It was very misleading, so it's no wonder it was pulled.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
You're using the words article and the sun in the same
Yeah.
sentence.
Yeah, he's got a point there. Yeah.
Good one.
Problem Being asks what happened to the Pertwee Blu-rays. We were told we're getting in March.
Yes.
We're still getting them. They're out in a few weeks' time. I think the date, because if you remember the original published date, that was retracted quite soon. So they've held back on that. So they didn't issue an actual final date until they knew they could deliver on it. So it is out. I think it's I've forgotten the date now. We did have it last week.
First week of March.
It is the first week of March. There you go. Ian knows. So yes, though they are coming. That's an absolute definite. They're still
Monday, March the 8th. It's due out.
Yeah.
Ooh, JT gets one up.
Definitely coming. And yes, but the other thing, apart from speculating about Blu-rays and moaning about the weather, even though we haven't heard any more information about when Jodie is leaving, and we certainly we're some way off finding out who's next, that doesn't stop us from speculating as to who it could possibly be, does it?
He's staying.
We've had lots of conversations about this over the last few weeks, and Ian, you're gonna love this because our viewers out there on YouTube are getting in touch, and we're getting suggestions dropped into the comment section all the time. This one was from Sam Snoswell, who was in the comment section on YouTube a few days ago, and his suggestion, Sam, was this guy.
Daniel McDonald.
No, I like his scarf.
My reaction at first was very much like yours, because I understand he's mostly a singer, isn't he, Daniel O'Donnell? I've never really heard him sing, but I know he's loved by the nation, isn't he?
He is a singer.
Yeah,
he doesn't do anything else. He just sings.
Yeah. And then I saw this picture. I thought, well, he's got the scarf. He's halfway there to a cosplay, and that kind of looks like the location. That looks like the gardens in the Five Doctors, wouldn't you say?
That's TARDIS been comped in, isn't it? That TARDIS been comped in.
I wonder who did that. Yes, thank you for that suggestion, Sam. Keep them coming, I think. But yes, since this is your first time with us, Ian, I wondered what was your, see if we are going to get a new Doctor, which direction would you like them to go in? Have you got your eye on an actor or an actress or anybody out there?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And the next actor to play the Doctor, me. I'll do it.
Excellent.
No. I don't think Jodie should leave. I know. There's lots of people have their own opinions, their own thoughts. Do you know what? She's doing all right. I mean, the production might not be great, but you know what? We are not the. I know. I could be kicked out of this.
Just define when you say she's doing all right. Explain that.
He doesn't have to explain. Just
I mean, it gets less than 5 million an episode when it was getting 7 to 8.
But we're talking about performance-wise. I think that's right. Carry on.
Performance-wise on the character, for me, I think it's she's getting there. There's still a bit like Sylvester, for example. His first season, he was still trying to find the role, still wrestling with it, and then by the end, oh my God, we had an amazing Doctor with McCoy. I think that's what's happening with Jodie here, and I think. The beauty of Doctor Who fandom is that everybody has their own sort of opinion of and their thoughts and feelings about what should happen and what happens. I think, and also their own sort of hopes what will happen going forward. Unfortunately, we don't have a say. It's true. which is quite sad for lots of people because they want to be able to be. They want to be Chris Chibnall, They want to be.
We don't want to be Chris Chibnall. We definitely.
Well, no, but they want to be in that position.
But and of course you're absolutely right, Ian. But there must be some actors where you've been watching them recently in Hollyoaks or whatever, or in Marcella or one of these, and you thought, God, that actor.
I think, and it's been rumored in the press over the last week or two. And his name has just gone out of my...
Michael Sheen?
Michael Sheen, thank you very much. I've said that for quite some time, for many years, but even I think before Eccleston, or even when Eccleston was doing it, when he did a thing called Fan Dabby Dozer. And everything he's ever done, Michael Sheen he's a fantastic actor. I don't think the BBC would cast him.
Yeah, apparently he said no, didn't he? Or something like that. I've read an article that they actually asked him that question.
I've not heard this. Why don't you think they would ask him though, Ian?
Well, the thing is that I don't think he'll take the role. He's very big in the movies. He's gotten to a point where, that Hollywood likes him. He goes in and out between America and England, making TV shows and making movies. I don't think his agent would definitely say, no, don't do it. And I don't think he wants to do it, tell you the truth. But I may be wrong about that. I'm just guessing, So I don't know. Sorry, what's that? Was that?
Stand your groundy, and there are people who still like it.
Yeah, but not many of them. The difference between Sylvester McCoy's era and this era is that when Sylv joined, there were no scripts, there was no direction for the show, there was no producer, there was no script editor. JNT was kept on forcefully as the last remaining member of staff at the BBC in its old incarnation, the way it used to be. He had to get everything done for it. So that's why his first season was actually pushed together with nothing to do based on, look at Pip and Jane writing Time and the Rani. They were just asked to do it because John knew them. And then Andrew brought in writing afterwards. So by the time they got to do series 25 and 26, the fuss of 24 was over. They had to sit down and say, right, where are we going? We have a proper production meeting. The difference with this era is that Chibnall knew before he was given the role that he wanted a certain actor to do the role, i.e. female, and how he was going to do it and how the story would run and how he was going to reboot the origin of the character and make it a different character. You can't ever compare the Chibnall era to what was going on in Sylvester's time, especially because it's two different beasts. So when people start saying that, I go, no, actually look at the history of what was going on in 1986. It was not the same.
I'm just looking at Daniel Leach's comment. His music makes me jump out the window. I think he means Daniel O'Donnell's music, not Chris Chibnall's music.
Very possibly.
I'm pretty certain about that. No, but when we have this conversation, one of us, in fact, wherever you have this conversation with anybody who's got any sort of vested interest, somebody always mentions Michael Sheen. And I think because he's still, he's a middle-aged actor, isn't he? So he's not particularly young, but he's not particularly old either. He's in his early to mid-50s. He's going to be around for quite a long time. And I can't see, every time this question comes up, every time it looks like a doctor is going to leave, I think the name Michael Sheen, it's always going to be on people's lips, isn't it, Barnaby? He's that ubiquitous, and he seems that perfect for it.
He auditioned, didn't he, at the same time as Tennant? That's what I heard.
Oh, really?
They talk. I hear they talk about it in Staged, which is that Zoom show that David Tennant does with Michael Sheen, and I think he mentions they make a joke or something that he auditioned for it.
That might be staged. That might be staged itself, though, Barnaby.
Yeah.
Russell was working, and Julie were working with David on Casanova, and they more or less said to him, "Do you want to play the Doctor?"
Yeah, I think that was the first sort of time. I don't know if he actually went and auditioned, but that's the story.
Maybe not for that one.
Michael Sheen's a brilliant actor. I love him in Good Omens, and him and David have a brilliant.
Barnaby as the Doctor again. What the hell's going on?
It's a regular weekly suggestion.
It will happen.
If we get a new showrunner with good scripts, then there's only one logical choice as the next Doctor, Barnaby, and he probably already has an idea for the wardrobe. That they're getting to know you already, I think, Barnaby.
Absolutely.
Ready and willing. I do it in a heartbeat. Oh, it'll be fantastic.
We've got the rabbi here in the chat. Hello, Rabbi. The rabbi's up later on at 6 o'clock. Jodie is never going to be able to play the Doctor effectively, as she just doesn't believe in the role. Don't even mention her in the same breath with Sylvester. I would completely agree with that. Rabbi.
As I was saying, right, Ian, I don't mind people if they like Jodie. Jodie's just not for me. And the most offensive thing they actually did to the show was to destroy the canon. And that, for me, has just destroyed my want to watch this era now. As I said, I was really up for Jodie being the Doctor when I saw the advert. My heart did sink a bit, but I thought, you know what, maybe it might revitalize the show. And you know what, a lot of people that are against the show, a lot of people thought that as well. I wasn't the only one with those thoughts, and we all gave her a shot. But I believe, and I always stress this, that I don't think it's Jodie's fault. I think it's the management around her that made her look bad. She's not a bad actress. A lot of people disagree. Well, yes,
we've got a comment here from Darren who says, how do you think having a comedic background, such as John Pertwee, or Sylvester, helps with an actor taking the role? Ian Kubiak, what do you think about this, about a comedic background?
Timing for a Time Lord.
Yeah. Good point. It's a good point. Because what I love about John Pertwee, his Doctor has taken literally decades to really sort of burrow into me the way the others have. I never got it for years and years and years. But in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've really got on board with it, and I've realised how much I love the character. And I realised after watching, all the documentaries and everything, how much of a leap it was for John, being from this comedic background, to fall back from all that and to take was it Barry Letts or Derek Sherman's instruction, or Terence Dicks, one of the three, to play it as himself. What a leap of faith that could have been, if for a guy with, at that time, 20, 25 years in the business behind him. It must have still have been a sort of gulp, He had to muster all the faith of the people who were advising him to do that, because his instincts were to go with a comedy creation, to create a little tramp figure, the way that, do you see what I mean? Because Patrick Troughton, he created a character which he stepped into, didn't he? Whereas Pertwee, he'd played character after character. And that's what interests me about, I think I've said this before, that's what interests me about Richard Ayoade playing the part. And
no, don't go down that road, please.
I think to a lesser extent, even though he's not a comedic actor, I think it's the same with Michael Sheen. I don't know, even though I wouldn't say he's strictly a comedic actor, he's played so many different characters, so many different parts. I mean, Ian, what you just said about Fantabuloso when he played Kenneth Williams, you forget all these biopics where he disappears into these characters. What would it be like if you stripped all that away from an actor like Michael Sheen?
You know what? Michael Sheen would be a really good Doctor, and if he did get cast as a Doctor, I think the script writers will definitely have to up their game and give him some really good stories, because he deserves it. As an actor, he'll bring, a huge beyond A game to that TV show.
The difference would be, Ian, is that if you cast somebody of Michael Sheen's caliber, you would change your script writers.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You would get people who are up there on their A game with him. Yeah, and that's one thing that we've actually seen. If you look at the modern series from 2008, 9, the quality's changed, and certainly in the last 4 or 5 years, the quality's been a little bit lackluster, as though it's just the making do. And that's what you should never do with the television. And that responds in the fact the viewing figures have gone down. We as fans are not necessarily tuning in. We are not supportive of the current era, because it's as though they're just, we're making do with this sort of stuff. When it comes to a comedic background as well, yeah, you're absolutely right, other Ian. The timing is ability, but you wouldn't have any necessarily a comic. You wouldn't have had Victoria Wood as Doctor Who. You wouldn't necessarily had Julie Walters as Doctor Who. You wouldn't, necessarily have.
I think I'd go for
that. You wouldn't have had Tommy Cooper or Ken Dodd.
Oh, he'd be really good, Tommy Cooper.
Oh, I'd love to see Tommy Cooper.
There's a different sort of style of comedy where it comes to and John was, of course. He wouldn't have liked himself. He wouldn't have liked being called a comic, because he was a theatre. He was variety. He was a different sort of actor, and that's that thing. You've got to be able to deliver a script, which, in the case of today's show, is obviously impossible.
There's a difference between a comedian and a comedic actor, aren't there? Just want to say hello to JFO in the chat. This is a name I don't remember seeing before. So hello. Every Doctor has that moment, or moments that we remember and we think that's the Doctor. Jodie has never had that moment, so she doesn't feel like the Doctor to me. What's her moment so far? Well, I think we've talked about that before. I don't think she's had one. I completely agree. Welcome to the channel, JFO.
Do you know which Sylvester McCoy, right? I think what JNT was looking for. He was looking for someone to bring their own personality to the Doctor. It's kind of like, when Sylvester Stallone was going to make Beverly Hills Cop, and then he couldn't do it, and then they got they got Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy just brought himself to that role and just completely made it something, and it was really good. And I think that's what he was trying to do with Sylvester. But unfortunately, with Sylvester, he, as JT said, he came into an era where nobody knew what they were doing. And the first season did suffer really badly. The first episode I saw, I was like this, what the hell am I watching? Do you know what I mean? It was just so bad, acting, everything, right across the board. So, you know, I think JT's definitely got something there.
Yeah, I mean, Ian, that was the case. I mean, that was just the time for 24. But the advantage was you had a brand new script editor. JNT, by his own admission, was starting to take a back step because he was so tired. He was so tired. He had been through an awful lot with a hiatus, column stacking, all this sort of stuff. And he was so tired of it. So he put himself over on a back step. And Sylv got the luxury of being able to sit with Andrew Cartmel and say, I would like to do this with the character. And that tied in with Andrew's sort of making this a little bit more grown up or moving it away, bringing the mystery back. And that was a magical time for it. And the kids wouldn't have got that. But certainly you can see it now. If you look back at it with adult eyes and you look at 24, which is hilariously camp, and then you go to I mean, I was blown away in 88 when Remembrance of the Daleks Part 1 started, because here was, again, a different reiteration, and the Doctor had changed. And then you get to the end of 26 with Ghostlight, totally different. But it was all because of the production stuff there. And the thing about John as well, he cast Sylv because John always worked on contrast. And yes, he loved Sylv's performance. They went through a hell of a lot of auditions to get this one right after what had just happened. And there was a lot of bureaucracy involved internally about who was going to be the new Doctor. But as soon as John focused on the performance from the Pied Piper and stuff like that, John wanted Sylv.
It was a case. It was a case of it's an often told story, isn't it? That JNT, he was into the deep end in the run up to this. He had. I think he was going off on annual leave, which he'd built up like nearly a month's worth of annual leave, which he was about to go on, and yet he'd been pretty much ordered to stay on the show. But he'd got no script editor, he'd got no leading actor, and he'd got no real time to go and find one. And I believe that in the same morning, he had two phone calls, literally one after the other. One from Clive Doig, who was the producer on Eureka. Yeah, the producer on Eureka. And one from Sylvester's agent as well. Is that true, Ian Kubiak? Or is that a myth?
Yeah. I don't know if it happened, quite like that, but I know those calls did apparently happen, yeah.
And of course, so this is the man you need to go and see. You're seeing is believing sort of thing. And in the Pied Piper, as you said, JT, and it would seem that the stars really aligned for Sylvester. And I understand that in the years before, people who he'd been working with in theatre and TV or whatever else would say to him, you'd make a great Doctor Who and all that sort of thing. A bit like people are saying to you at the moment, Barnaby.
I always look at that as funny because Sylv has said that on the convention circuit. People in the industry were saying to him, you'd be a great Doctor Who. But that showed me at the perception of the time, no disrespect to Sylv because I love Sylv and he's a great guy and a very recognisable Doctor. But it showed me how could be happening now, the perception of what Doctor Who is. Because, we were always getting, Paul Daniels is going to be the Doctor. Somebody far way out there who would never actually get. I mean, when Chris Eccleston,
Daniel O'Donnell, for example, Daniel O'Donnell,
and that shows where the press was coming from and where the industry may have been going. It was all done tongue in cheek, as it's just a kids' show. Well, nobody cares. And then when Chris Eccleston was cast, my God, everyone went, "What? It's going to be that sort of show."
Immediately flipped it. Talking about CGI, it wouldn't be 8i40 Live without we took time to look at some pretty pictures before we sign off with it. Here's the latest work from our friend the Prydonian. More Daleks, everybody.
That one on the left is stunning. I love the red top.
The Weetabix Daleks.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what he's doing now. I think he's done virtually every Dalek that was ever screened. He's created his own Daleks, and now he's looking at obscure merchandise and promotional material to bring those Daleks to CGI as well, to make them look like they could just roll off the screen and exterminate you. I like how the one on the left has got one red light and one blue light there. On the top.
Is that, I can't remember where that's from. Was that from, Simon? Is that from a Target book or something? I would be confused.
Well, there's certainly never been. It never had two different colour lights, as far as I recall. I'm guessing it's touring and Labour. I don't know. It's sort of hedging its bets. But the Dalek itself is partially from it's Terry Nation's original Dalek that he had.
Right.
And it was a photo that appeared, I think, in the Radio Times 10th anniversary special. And people like the Weetabix cards, the Weetabix artists grabbed hold of it and used that as the model. That's why it was never a TV Dalek. It's just got this legacy now. It keeps popping up everywhere because it was one of Terry Nation's own Daleks.
I remember the two different lights, the one red and one blue, when I was a kid, because I was confused by that. And
where is that then, JT?
It's not the PG Tips. I've just checked. I have no idea. It's either Weetabix. It's definitely not PG Tips. It might have been an annual, or it might have been in a.
Right, we need somebody to tell us this, because I genuinely don't ever remember seeing two different colour lights.
Darren Bradley, I think that's a cue for you. You've probably got them somewhere in your archive. Let us know where we've seen these two. It's definitely familiar.
It's definitely
the one on the right. That one is the Planet of the Daleks one because of the purple ears. So that's Planet of the Daleks, Supreme Dalek.
Yeah.
It's the Terry Nation
Dalek.
Dalek.
Terry Nation Dalek, yeah. But I don't remember. I'm sure it doesn't have different colour lights. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right on that. It's not the prop, but I have seen the artist in a comic strip or something when I was a kid, because I was confused. I remember reading something and I was confused. Why has it got a red and why has it got a blue? So it's either an annual or it's it won't be the weekly.
Somebody tell us.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
I'm not going to sleep.
It'll be from the 70s, everybody, if you know.
Not going to sleep.
Let's know. We're going to need to know these things. Another thing that's caught my eye. Last week we looked at some of Clayton Hickman's amazing colorized images, didn't we, from black and white stories? We've looked at those a couple of times.
Yeah, he's really good at that.
He's been at it again, but this time it's not actually a photograph that he's been looking at. He's been looking at the telesnaps. Has anybody seen this? So this is a standard Doctor Who telesnap that was taken on the off-air, the camera recordings, weren't they, by John Cura during the 1960s. So whilst the episodes were actually in production, they were taken, weren't they, to showcase the work of different directors on the show. But over the intervening decades, they've become the only real visual source that we've got for some of these sadly now missing from the archives episodes. So here's a standard telesnap. This is what they look like usually. Clayton Hickman, he's been at them with his toolbox, and
oh my goodness,
wow.
That is the result.
Wow.
It's got the lights that are reflecting off them as well.
Yeah.
It's got smoke in the background as well.
That was my reaction too. I mean, it is like Michael Craze is sat there in front of you, isn't it?
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. That's such a good use of technology. That's not just colorizing. That's reinventing.
That's a process. That's several steps, isn't it, Simon? Several steps over and over and over.
How you do that? Is it all manual drawing? Is it literally just taking
Photoshop, mate? Photoshop.
And how long would it
I think there's a bit of everything is in there. Yeah, I agree. There's probably all sorts in there. To go from that, because that is literally the only source we've got to that.
It as well, isn't he? Sharpened it. You can see it's pretty clear.
Well, it literally looks redrawn. I'm sure that is literally redrawn.
Yeah.
Very, very, very impressive.
Just imagine a whole episode done like that and in colour. Wow. Maybe one day.
One day. Who would have thought it?
I don't doubt it will happen at some point.
Yeah, it will. It will
happen. Go back to those Daleks. I can see in the comments, Duncan Shaw says the one on the left, that's the one with the different coloured ears, looks like a Dalek from the Peter Cushing movies. That's because it is a Dalek from the Peter Cushing movies, and Terry Nation grabbed it. He grabbed 2 or 3, I think, from the movies, and that is certainly one of the movie Daleks. That's why it's there.
There we are. It's made from the spare parts of the Dalek movies. Says PD Rich there. Lots of people coming in with that.
We still want to know where the different colour ears have come from, please.
It's gonna really frustrate me now because I don't know. Yeah, I remember it.
You don't know what's going on.
Oh no, because there was a lot of stuff going on in the 70s with comic strips and stuff. So it could be anywhere.
Could be absolutely anywhere. More things I've discovered on my travels this week is this as well. This little bit of Hartnell merchandise. Here, Barnaby. Here's your first Doctor here. Looking very stately on
stately and stern. That was him. Fantastic job.
That's a money box there with where it's Dr. Who. Notice, not the full word. I've never liked it when they do that. But I just love everything about this. I love the fact that it is sort of slightly chubby and chunky and quite bright blue, and the packaging. I mean, I don't know exactly. I think that's 1965. It says on the bottom. Yeah, 1965.
From the side, it looks like
factory in Manchester,
boxes, doesn't it? From the side, it looks like juice boxes. You know, the little box that you get with the juice in.
Doctor Who juices. Stick a straw on the top.
I wondered if any of you have ever seen this before, because I hadn't.
I've never seen that before. Never seen that before. I'm quite impressed with the TARDIS because very often in those early '60s toys, they just look, and the Daleks are the same. They look absolutely nothing like them. They're very poor renditions. So actually, that's a pretty good rendition of a TARDIS, to be honest. They've even got the St. John's sign on the front in the right place.
It was actually, as many other things were then, just based on a regular police box. That's a lovely copy of it. I've actually seen one in front of me, which I wasn't allowed to touch as part of a actual collector. And it was in Moffat in Scotland, here in Scotland, and there was a collection of memorabilia of science fiction, and Doctor Who played a big part of it. And that was in one, because I actually asked if I could buy it, and of course the collection was not for sale. But the box there was pristine, and I was so wanted to go. What is it? But yeah, it's lovely. It's the only time I've ever seen it.
Probably made from lead, for the kids. Health and safety back in the 60s.
I think that's what it is. The picture on the top, the one on the right-hand side, it just says police money box, and it's got the 999 numbers down the side, and then on the right-hand side we've got it branded as the Doctor Who money box. So we get this now, don't we, with toys and merchandise, sometimes getting a getting re-stickered as other things. And this could be an early example of the same kind of conceit.
You certainly did in the 60s and into the early 70s, but of course now the police box is no longer owned by the police, but is owned by the British Broadcasting Corporation. A registered trademark.
Apparently so. I keep forgetting this. Yeah, but you'd think that they would. They wouldn't have let that go. The police,
the police did try to take them to court, and the BBC won because the courts realised that the TARDIS is, or the police box is now more associated with the TARDIS and the Doctor than it is with the police.
Indeed, it is indeed. Bang up to date with new merchandise as well. This has just been released, which means that the Type 40 review of Revolution of the Daleks is on the way. So it's just come out on Blu-ray. People have been getting them in the post now, those who've pre-ordered it, with these four, they're calling these art cards. I think that one of the Daleks is an art card, the others are just photos. But yeah, this is the latest Doctor Who Blu-ray that's just come out. We'll be reviewing this on the podcast very, very soon. Those people are asking me what I thought of the special. I can let you know now. Oh yeah. Deathly silence. Oh dear.
The mood just goes.
Yeah,
it does indeed. So let's
on.
Let's cheer ourselves up with more pretty pictures, something nice to look at. How on earth it keeps happening? I've no idea.
Those tentacle gremlins are awful.
Yeah, at it again. Okay, yes, this is the final picture that caught my eye. Believe it or not, here we are. Okay, there's ice and snow outside. We're all freezing out. We're all freezing cold. The spring, let alone the summer, seems so far away. But here we are in an English country garden where a plucky Doctor Who fan, everybody, has made their shed into a TARDIS. And look at that sight as you open the door. Absolutely beautiful. I'll be honest, everybody, I'm not a gardener. My garden is in a bit of a state. But when I get it how I'd like it to look in my head, I think that this is what I need to strive for. This is the look for my outdoor man cave. What do you think? What do you think?
That's absolutely magnificent. And you just cannot tell from the angle, the way it's been shot, you can't tell where the room is. It's just brilliant.
Actually, I've just worked it out.
A photograph, isn't it?
Because Ian Kubiak looks like he could be in a shed there. Is this yours? Is this where you're actually broadcasting to us from this time?
It is, yeah. There's one of the Doctor Who illustrators for Doctor Who magazine, Lee Sullivan? He's got a full-sized police box TARDIS in his garden, which is falling apart, and he's put some lovely photos on his Facebook page of it, and yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, I want one. I want two.
Absolutely beautiful. If we all wish hard enough, all the cold weather it'll just subside. It'll just go away, and before you know, we'll be out of lockdown, won't we? And we'll have the fresh air in our nostrils, the feeling of grass beneath our feet.
Next year we're looking at then. Next year, next spring.
The support group. Cheer ourselves up. People in the chat saying goodbye. I've got a lovely TARDIS keychain from there. Really nice stuff. Yeah, good to see you here, Vanessa, as always. And somebody's asking where they can get a copy of that picture. I don't know what. I have no idea what you mean.